got the first question for Schneids.
All right, see you later.
Start with Ben on your left.
John, in the last couple months, as you've gotten to know Shane better as a person, what has kind of stood out to you?
Oh, man. It feels like he's been here for a while, to be honest with you. Just how, he kind of checks every box for a starting pitcher. He's prepared, he's confident, he's got tremendous recall, just very steady, you know what I mean? I think that was very evident, kind of watching him from the other side, and then you kind of get to know him, and you get to know him as a father and a husband a little bit too, and you just talking to him, he's a confident guy, and kind of checks every box that you feel good about a guy in a big stage going out to.
Other questions for John? We'll go to your fifth row on your right.
Hi, John. At the start of this series, there was a fair number of pundits from around here who predicted the Yankees would get through this round pretty easily, cruise to the World Series. What message are you trying to send to that crowd?
Don't have one. I think we're just focused on playing our game, really, and I think that we're confident when we're playing our game, and we know it was a good weekend at home, and this is still, we're treating this as if it's 0-0 series. You can't take your foot off the gas. I think we do a really good job of kind of worrying about what is important to us, and that's kind of how we've done it all year. It's kind of how we've gotten here. So it's a tight-knit group. I think that they're just going to continue to worry about them.
Go to Andy against the wall on your right, John.
I'm not one of those pundits. I thought you were good coming into this.
Thank you.
Forgive me for asking a little bit of a forward-looking question on a day like playoff day, but with Gausman's history of pitching some out of the bullpen, pitching on different days of rest out of the bullpen, does that, if you came to a decision where you'd be having to think about that, would that weigh differently than another starting pitcher who doesn't have experience pitching on short rest, if that makes sense?
No, I think we've talked to all these guys to where they're going to be ready for anything on any given day, depending on kind of where you are in the series. I think they're all ready for it. And, I know maybe a little bit easier if you've done it before, but I think that they're all kind of ready for whatever we ask.
Do you guys hold Gausman back for whatever bullpen he might have thrown between the starts because you're in a playoff series and you don't know what's going to happen, or did he throw his bullpen?
He's going to throw it tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll go to Ed in the back to your left.
Hi, John. What was your reaction when you heard that Cleveland was making Bieber possibly available, and what was your reaction when the deal was made?
Surprised, to be honest with you. And I remember at the time, just because, the player doesn't come right into your clubhouse and start contributing right away, I think it kind of got overshadowed a little bit when we did acquire him. But I was a little surprised, because they're, how they can play and did play down the stretch. And I don't know if it's, contract comes into it. He's going to be a free agent. We know that. But I think it was, I was ecstatic when Ross called me and told me that one. It's not very often you can acquire a guy like him with his track record. So was more than happy to get him in our clubhouse.
We'll go to Ron up front.
Is your job in any way different from the other 29 in that you don't just represent the city, but in some ways the country?
I think so, yeah. I haven't been anywhere but here, so this is kind of my norm. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I definitely can say that now more than ever, you always feel the weight of the world and decisions you make, but when you're kind of feeling a country, it kind of gets a little dicey at times, like the sixth inning with the bases loaded and nobody out and Aaron Judge hitting, you feel like people in Nova Scotia want to, come murder you. So yeah, I think that gets magnified a little bit, but it's kind of what I've what I've come to know. It's something I don't take lightly.
Thanks.
We'll go to Jeff in the fourth row on your right, Schneids.
Very sorry for Nova Scotia. When you were catching, how many guys threw splitters? Because it seems like it kind of, when Roger Clemens was there and Jack Morris was throwing at Curt Schilling, that it was a thing, and then it just sort of vanished for a little while.
It did, yeah. Not many. I can't recall that many. And I've always said I think baseball kind of goes in waves and trends and things like that. When I was catching, it was velo was starting to come a little bit. Hard breaking balls were starting to come a little bit. Not many, and then all of a sudden, I think just in this age of pitch design and facilities, guys are coming up with different ways to throw different things. Whether it's a kick, changeup, a split change, a sweeper. It's definitely different, but I think it kind of just goes hand in hand with what hitters are doing and trying to combat what hitters are doing a little bit. We got some guys with some good ones for sure.
Yeah, why does it work, or why has it worked as effectively as it has?
I think it's tough to say for me, who is a very, very marginal minor league hitter. But I think when you're talking about the action of certain pitches and the uniqueness of what each one can do, I think that's where it plays. You got to have the right fastball profile to kind of play off of it with, I think. But it's a weird pitch. There's since we've acquired Kevin, we've talked so many nights and hours about just all right, where's this ball going to be put in play? Do we shift? Do we not? It's kind of an unpredictable pitch. So everyone's a little bit different, but I think that it kind of combats what hitters are kind of trained to do these days a little bit.
Go to Mike, the sixth row in the right center aisle there.
Hey, John. As the postseason approaches, we hear managers talk all the time about, I love the postseason experience on my roster. We hear, GMs at the trade deadline talking about, this guy I brought in, he's, got postseason experience. I'm real excited about that. Some of the biggest stars so far, small sample size, but some of the biggest performances in this postseason have been young guys. I mean, not just like rookies or second-year play, guys with 5 major league games, 4 major league starts under their belt. Schlittler, Churio, 21 years old, Mizorowski last night, rookie Sasaki. I mean, these are guys with very, very minimal major league experience. How do you explain their ability to handle these pressurized moments? And what are you seeing out of young players these days?
It's definitely different. It's remarkable, really, when you're talking about a big stage, a big market here. Really, anywhere in the postseason is big, but it's been, I think players, they kind of have been developed a little bit differently over the past probably handful of years. And I think that they probably exude a little bit more confidence at a young age. Even I've been asked this question about, when Bo and Vlad debuted in 2019, and how is it different for Trey, or how is it different for somebody? Players, I think, are just different, today. And pitching especially, I think, can be ahead of hitting. It's kind of weird to see, like the names you just mentioned. Those are some prominent guys in the postseason so far. It's tough to explain, but I think that teams do a good job of welcoming young guys in. That's been apparent, and you have to kind of look at what the stuff is doing in real time. It's like, okay, will this work? And if you think it works, you go for it. It's kind of our job to make sure the transition is as easy as it can be, and veteran players making it easy for young guys to come into an environment that's really stressful. So I think that players have just really gotten a lot better, a lot quicker.
Stay back there with Lauren, then we'll go to Jorge.
Hi, John.
Hey.
I'm not sure if you're a speech guy, but I'm curious about the message in the room before a big game like this. And if it's not you, who is it?
Yeah, it's not me. I've joked. I've told these guys the last couple of days, this is the only year that I have yet to have a team meeting, with the full group in my managerial life, minor leagues and big leagues. So they are driving the bus. I think there's certain times where veteran guys, I think if something needs to be said, there's George for sure. Vladimir for sure, and some of our pitchers, whether it's Chris or Max, who love to talk, or Gauze. There's plenty of guys that can kind of steer the ship, and this group is really good at just doing the same thing, whether it's, okay, I'm going to come hit early or I'm going to play cards at this time. I think the more you can operate under normal circumstances in big spots, the better off you're going to be.
Do a couple more. Jorge, third row on your right.
John, you've been at this manager thing for quite a while, through the minors and here at the big leagues, and you've been with this organization. How are you feeling today? This is a huge game, maybe the biggest
Good
game.
question. Yeah. I feel I'm excited. You know what I mean? It's you kind of get lost a little bit in the day-to-day prep and the day-to-day routine of it. Haven't really thought about it till you asked, to be honest with you. I think that we put ourselves in a really good spot, and I think that I've been doing this long enough to where you don't ever want to let your guard down, and you don't ever want to try to do something you haven't done or something you're not good at, both myself and players. So I think you kind of focus on the game. You focus on, figuring out a way to get to Carlos, who's really, really good, and try to keep their lineup in check. But I felt pretty good on the flight here for a little bit, and after that, you kind of get back to work, and you deal with it when you deal with it.
Any family and friends from Jersey? A lot of
Yeah, I got my wife and my boys coming. They've been here, and Mom and Pop are coming with my two brothers, and I told them, don't wear a Schneider jersey. You may get hurt. Maybe just wear some neutral colors. But yeah, pretty cool to have some family here.
We'll do two last ones. The fifth row on your right.
Davis was in here earlier talking about how you guys aren't intimidated by this stage, how it's just basically a bunch of guys here just having fun playing baseball. Has that been the MO since day one, or is this something that has sort of developed as the season progressed?
I think that was kind of there, but you really you kind of saw it unfold over the course of the season, where you can grasp onto any narrative that is out there, right? But I think that that's been apparent for a while now. That's been apparent that that's what they're doing for a while now. I've joked with Donnie and Pete. Some days it feels like the movie The Sandlot. They're just coming in and playing. And I think if you can embrace that, it's pretty cool, because ultimately if you want to get to where you want to get to, it's just going to get more and more magnified and more tense. So it's been like that for a while with this group, which is pretty cool.
We'll finish up with Ben, third row on your left.
When it comes to something like pitch tipping in-game, who are the guys in your dugout that you rely on most to help you identify whether it's on your team or the other team, something that might be going on?
I think pitch tipping. It's part of the game, right? So we have a lot of guys that look at it. I think that you can always say, you trust your catcher, what he's seeing kind of in real time. Pete looks at it quite a bit. I think we have some veteran guys. I'm thinking back to the game here where Max was pitching, and it's not very often Ty France makes a mound visit to Max Scherzer, right? So I think if someone sees something, they're gonna try to address it in real time. Again, you don't want it to dominate your day. You don't want to dominate your prep or what you're doing. But I think we have enough people kind of aware of what's going on.
All right, Schneider, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.